welcome to Tiger Fitness Live. I'm editorial director Steve Shaw here with
Trey Thornton.
Trey Thornton. Trey, what do you do here at Tiger Fitness?
I do a little bit of everything. I mainly work in customer service, help out with the affiliates, change light bulbs in the warehouse occasionally.
Yeah, he does. He helped with the entire gym.
Yeah, so we do a little bit of jack of all trades, master of none type thing. So.
Yeah, Trey created the entire rules for the gym. What's your favorite rule for the gym, Trey?
You're not LeBron James. Don't throw the chalk in the air.
How about my rule? What's my rule, Trey?
Steve's rule, and we have people that break these rules, is
Right.
if you're going to have to listen to very bad music.
If I have to listen to your bad music,
then you have to listen to him critique your squat.
Then you have to listen to me critique your squat. That's our rule. All right, guys, we're going to do a Q&A for about a half an hour, and we're going to lead off with a topic, which is exciting news. We've been talking about a Tiger Fitness podcast for a while, and me and Trey here. Oh, look, you can almost see my shoulder gains, Trey. I'm not going to move the rest of the video.
Boulders like, so is it shoulders like boulders?
Yeah, something like that.
Shirt?
Yeah, the exciting news is that me and Trey will be running the Tiger Fitness podcast. We're going to be bringing it back to life, just me and him, the big, hairy, ugly dude. And
this dude,
he's gonna need a nickname, so we might cover that in the we'll just cover that in the first podcast. So, all right, guys, we're gonna be taking your questions for the next half an hour, but we want to announce a Tiger Fitness podcast. We're gonna be bringing guests on, a lot of quality guests. We're gonna be covering topics that aren't just bodybuilding and powerlifting. We're gonna be covering everything imaginable under the sun. So
we can go yoga, golf. I like golf. We can talk about golf. I know you don't like golf.
No, don't assume. You don't assume anything. In this era, man, you don't assume anything.
True, yeah.
I got a great golf story, but we used to, back when I was in college, we had a course, a military course that was right next door to our college, and we could play for $1 for 9 holes.
I need to find that course. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, that was back in '86 when we used wooden sticks, dinosaur bones.
When it was originally the 3 wood, and it was actually just a block of wood.
Yeah, that was. But the first time I ever played golf on that course, the 18th hole was right, at the clubhouse, and they were waiting to start a tournament. We got there early in the day, so the 18th hole was a par 3. I got up, whacked the drive.
With your wood?
It was like 20 yards from the hole, right? Everybody's clapping. I'm like, what the heck did I do? so I got up there. I'm like, oh, now I got like 100 people waiting to start a tournament, and I look like I know what I'm doing, right? So I get up there to putt, to sink a birdie in this par 3, and guess what?
Hunting season.
I drained it, and everybody went crazy. And that was the last time. I ever got a birdie. So you got to tell me your golf story, and then we'll get this thing started.
Well, I essentially realized that you cannot lift for 8 hours a day. I've tried it; it does not work. But you can golf for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, I guess you could.
That's kind of like how I needed something to do for like 8 hours that would take up a whole day, and so I found golf.
Yeah, well, that's why I hike. It's kind of the same thing, except I don't have to find my ball.
Well, golf is just a good hike spoiled. Was it a good walk spoiled? That's what Mark Twain called it.
Yeah. So we're just sitting here doing Tiger Fitness Live, and I see that YouTube really hasn't notified anybody yet, which is one of the marvels of YouTube. We have like 4 people watching.
Nice.
We do actually have usually it picks up. Derek does have a question. Says, when will you guys be posting the podcast?
He said where.
Oh, where?
Yeah.
Initially we did 5 or 6 podcasts with me, Marc, and guests, and we posted them on iTunes. We're probably going to try to revolve the podcasts around the site, and host them on the site mainly. We'll also probably feature them on iTunes and, wherever else popular podcast places are. But, we want to keep things centralized on Tiger Fitness because we want you on the site. We're greedy sons of guns. All right.
It's all capitalism.
Yeah. Aaron Flores says, I didn't get a notice. I saw your post on Massive Iron. Yeah, welcome aboard, Aaron. I'm not really sure what's going on with YouTube right now. No one's on watching us live, which is really strange, but that's the way YouTube works. So we'll just continue to talk and, until we get questions. So Tell us about yourself, Trey, and what your background is a little bit.
Yeah, so born and raised down south, Memphis, Tennessee, and then when I got to college, my high school baseball career was over, and so I really got into training, working out, and I fell in love with strength conditioning from the athletic performance side, and I interned for 4 years at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And then I first started out scrubbing toilets. I was I was an intern, and then I finished scrubbing toilets, but at least between scrubbing toilets, I was the head strength and conditioning coach for the men's and women's track and cross country teams there, along with women's soccer, and then assisted with basketball, men's and women's basketball, football, literally every sport that we had there. And then from there, I got the opportunity to actually do another internship at Harvard, so I got to somehow I tricked them into allowing me to come up and intern there. So I mean, it was definitely a blessing. Got to Southern boy up north in Massachusetts, it was definitely a blessing and got to learn a lot. And then spent some time in the private sector as well, kind of got away from the collegiate realm, a little more job security from the private side. And then one day Steve gave me a call, actually not Steve, John, and said, hey, we'd love to have you aboard. And
I don't have that much power. Or your phone number.
That's very true, actually. So yes, that's how I got to Tiger. So I was definitely I've been on kind of the practitioner side, but I really wanted to get to the business realm side of things. And then Tiger's got a great platform, what we got going here. So it's definitely kind of the perfect blend of business. And we still have the gym on. We have the gym on site here, so we can still do. I can still coach. I can still be kind of on the front lines of the iron game.
So again, me and Trey are going to be doing the Tiger Fitness podcast. We're actually going to be setting up the equipment this week in the back, and we're going to start actually getting some episodes on. About a month ago, we did some testing, and with the equipment we have here. So I think we're ready to go. But let's talk sports a little bit, because when people on my channel, people on my channel know that I'm not just a power lifter, but a lot of times on Tiger Fitness, Marc refers me to power lifter as a power lifter.
The people in the grocery store refer to you as a power lifter.
They usually ask me if I'm a pro wrestler, actually. Or they talk about my latest Wolverine movie or something. But let's talk about sports, because long before I got into powerlifting, I was a basketball player, a baseball player, a wrestler, a pro wrestler. I was a runner for 14 years. Tell us about your background, your sports, your physical fitness background.
Yeah, so mainly growing up, I was very blessed. My great grandfather played on the original Philadelphia Eagles team. My grandfather played in the Canadian Football League. My dad played divisional.
Which team?
He played for the Toronto Argonauts.
Oh,
and
yes.
then he played for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And so
Awesome.
They essentially gave him a lot more money in Canada than in the NFL back in the 60s and 70s. But then my dad played at University of Memphis football there, and then I actually chose a different path. I played baseball and hockey, and I did some track and cross country growing up as
What was
well.
your position?
Catcher.
Hey, I was a catcher too.
Yeah, had that pop time.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But
I was just a big old like a wall, so they just put me back.
just dropped your knees and blocked.
Right.
But so mainly it was just kind of, there was definitely that age where my dad took me aside and he was like, hey, unfortunately we don't have the greatest genetics in the world, so you're gonna have to start learning how to work out and train. He taught me kind of the military, what I call the military basics, from push-ups, pull-ups. I mean, he kind of incentivized it too, from the sense of, he was like, when you can do 3 pull-ups, then I'll take you out to some Memphis barbecue, or you can run a mile on this time. So it was definitely we made it fun, and then from there you get to high school and it's a little more structured. And so as far as having we had a strength conditioning coach, I was very blessed from that sense that at such a young age, which it's kind of trickling down now, but not a whole lot of kids have access to really good coaching, and so people will always brag about their equipment, but they really won't brag about their coaching. So,
right.
I mean, if you have this fancy super elite FTS hammer strength squat rack, and you have a 2-cent squat, it doesn't really mean anything. So I was very blessed to have some really good coaching, and then from there I'm kind of a group creature of habits. I really wanted to be involved in something, and my dad came up to me one day. He's like, hey, I got you an internship. And I was like, didn't know. I really was looking for one. But he said, hey, I reached out to the guys at Chattanooga. So, I got to go up there and intern there for 4 years, and it was literally an amazing experience. Scott Brinks at that time was the head strength and conditioning coach, and I made some great friends, and I just have nothing but positive things to say about that school.
All right, so you mentioned not being the greatest athlete, and when I made it real close to being one of the best, real close to being one of the best over 50 powerlifters of all time. Before I got a little thing called a hamstring tear, and I was like, I need to just chill on heavyweight. So, anyway, long story short, a lot of people assume like I was born out of the womb as some big, strong guy, some natural athlete. And I think one of the things we've talked about before was we're talking about in the office, the impact of barbell training alone or compound movements on sports performance. A lot of times, and it seems to be like the MMA guys, like, I'm not going to generalize here because I don't want to tick off people, but when I say that, strength helps with wrestling or MMA, I always get some little, no offense, 130 pound MMA guy who's like, it's technique, technique, technique. You know what? I always tell them, like, I'll take technique and strength. They assume I was never a wrestler. And a lot of people discount the impact of strength on sports. But what's been your experience with training and how it has improved your athletic performance? And I'll share mine.
So disclaimer, I never played college athletics or anywhere near the pro realm, but I was blessed to be around guys that made it to the NFL, made it to very high levels of European basketball or, even Major League Baseball. And essentially strength is the application of force. And so force is essentially how you move. So the more force you can apply, let's say into the ground, the harder your punch is going to be in boxing, the faster you're going to swing the baseball bat. And yes, there are speed, strength-based sports, like something like golf, where it's very technical, and you can have a guy like John Daly, who's 300 pounds, with a cigarette and a Miller Lite, and yes, he can go out and win a major championship. However, on the NFL or in the MLB or in the NBA, the more force you can apply, it's never going to, being strong is never going to be a weakness, as Marc Bell would say. So you got to be able to apply force into the ground, and just having that base strength level. Strength is the foundation to quickness. It's the foundation to agility, speed. So if you don't have strength, you're essentially negating any other physical attribute.
That's what baffles me about the guys that discount the ability to generate power and force. When I went into college, I didn't go and if you guys have questions, drop them in. I'm not sure what's going on with YouTube. No one's been notified. We have like four viewers. We're trying to do a Q&A, but YouTube's not cooperating. So if you have a question, pop it in. If not, we're just going to babble until our time is up. But
that's what we do every day.
Yeah, right? So
just being filmed this time.
Yeah, we're just filming ourselves. You guys can get to know us a little bit. We're going to be doing the podcast together, just for those of you tuning in now. When I went into college, I was a 152 pound skinny fat runner. And I had no intention of lifting weights, but I had an English professor that was a bodybuilder and a small gym, and there was nothing to do other than lift. So I love sports. I was a baseball player, a basketball player, a wrestler in high school. But the first 18 months of barbell training, my strength went up crazy. I was like 365 by 3 on squats after a year, 275 by 5 after bench after a year. My strength gains were quality.
275 for 5 is a 19-year-old? Very impressive.
Well, I had nothing else to do other than eat and lift. So, but what I noticed is, like, playing basketball, I could now grab the rim easily. Like, my vert went up like by 12 inches.
But if you break that down too, when you jump, you're applying force into the ground. So when you get stronger in your lower half, you're applying more force into the ground, allowing you to jump higher. So people don't see that equation.
Right, and hitting a baseball, after I came home after those 18 months for the summer, I joined a softball team, and all of a sudden I was just crushing the heck out of a baseball. I'm like, man, this is awesome. And I joined the military the year after. Long story short, I joined the military the year after. And I was the fastest sprinter in my military unit. I was like, what in God's name is going on? So I personally saw my vertical jump increase. I saw my sprinting speed increase, and I saw my ability to generate power in baseball just go crazy. So, when people come to me and say, hey, strength really doesn't play that much of a factor in sports, I just have to laugh because it's ridiculous.
Unless it's like golf, even tennis, or unless it's golf or ping pong, strength is never ever like going to hinder you. And like even you see now guys in like Brooks Koepka that just won the U.S. Open. That dude can bench 225 for 15 reps. He's a very strong individual. So I mean, like being strong is never going to hurt you, and if anything, like it's going to mask any flaws that you have in technique per se. I mean, you look at high-level defensive linemen in the NFL. I mean, while they may not be the most technically sound, brute force can overcome technique flaws any day of the week.
Right. You know, and I notice like the older I get, I'm 50 years old, and you're like 21, I think, or
25.
25. He's half my age. But you know, as you get older, you notice things like I'm on a desk job, so I need to get up on the weekends. I go hiking, but you notice your lower back takes some punishment, and if you're not used to standing or do. Oh, we're finally getting YouTube's finally notifying people that we're on 15 minutes later. You notice that like your lower back's not used to like standing for long periods of time. So, you know, you look at things like just basic strength and how it can fortify sports that you might not think it would fortify, like tennis or golf, where you have constant, you know, torso rotation, stuff like that. So you don't always see it because youth can mask what you're able to take and what you can't take. But anyway, long story short, I see no downside with strength in anything.
Yeah, I mean too, and it's also like if you look at people that make the argument for technique over strength, especially in the mixed martial arts realm, that smaller guys tend to be more technically sound just because the base strength they don't have the mass to overcome somebody with brute force. And I respect the martial arts, and I mean it's very impressive. But I mean if you put 10 weak guys on a football field or 10 strong guys, or 11 or 11, one side's weak and one side's strong. The strong team's going to win, like 90% of the time, 100% of the time. So I mean, I don't subscribe to the notion that, yes, while technique serves its purpose and it definitely has its role, if you don't have that base strength level, no matter how technically sound you are, unless it's golf, sorry to mention that again, but unless it's golf, perfect technique is not going to overcome just someone who's strong.
All right, guys. So we're trying to do a Q&A. This is Trey. Trey's going to be joining me on the new Tiger Fitness podcast. YouTube hasn't been notifying anybody, so we're just rambling. If you have questions, drop them in. We'll stay on here as long as you want. We're getting paid to do this, so we'll stay on here all day long. But please shoot us your questions about anything. Yeah, you know, when it comes, even like MMA seems to be the hot button sport when it comes to talk about strength and its impact, but I found when I went back home, you know, having been a mediocre high school wrestler, when I added that strength, it was a lot more difficult for people to obviously, you know, grapple with me because I just had that strength that most guys didn't have. The notification just came through. Well, glad to have you guys on board. We'll answer any questions, so just fire them up, shoot them up, and
let us know.
We'll take care of business. So,
but also too, like if you look in the mixed martial arts realm, like especially like someone like Brock Lesnar, the higher you get in weight class, the less technical it gets.
Right.
And it gets more just, if Brock Lesnar's facing a guy that's weaker than him, he's obviously going to be able to subdue him.
Yeah, there's some dream matchups I'd like to see, like Brock Lesnar versus Royce Gracie or whatever. But yeah. All right, here we got some questions coming in.
What we got?
Fight 2913 says, I'm doing a program that asks for hack squats and regular squats, also T-bar rows. What is an alternative to both? My gym doesn't have either. An alternative to the T-bar row.
You can do different variants. You can actually put a barbell in the corner, like in a room. Put a barbell in the corner, and then kind of mounts it on the base of the baseboard.
You can get a dumbbell on top of the end too.
Yeah, and then you can take a cable attachment, like the one that's shaped like a V. I forgot what they're called, and then put it underneath the bar. There you go. And
if you don't have the V attachment, you can grab the end of the barbell and just do one arm T-bar rows in the corner.
Was that the Yates row, or is that?
No, the Yates row is supinated, or with your palms up.
Supinated.
But if you just instead of doing it, if you just grab the end of a barbell like that, I forget what they call it, but. What's the best way to maintain weight while doing so much cardio for the military? I've been in the military.
Yeah, what would you say?
And you know what? When I was, we talked earlier about my strength gains in college. During that time, I was playing basketball for 2 hours afterwards. The best way for me to maintain was to eat and sleep.
A lot of people too. It's definitely no, there's no supplement. I mean, yes, we do sell supplements here at TigerFitness.com, but you're never going to out-train. I mean, if you're eating right and you're getting the proper sleep, I mean, that's going to be 90% of it for you.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people we get questions like this to focus on what you can control. What can you control? You can't reduce the amount of training the military is demanding of you. You can only control your recovery, your food intake, and your sleep, and maybe your supplementation, and that is about it. So focus on what you can control.
Another little story about that too is Arnold, but before his first pro show was in the, sorry, I feel like I'm ashamed, I forgot what country he's from. Austria?
Austria.
He was in the Austrian army, and he would do all of his military training during the day, and then at night would do more push-ups, more dips, and more bodyweight squats before he went to bed, because he just ate the standard food that the military gave him as well.
Right.
He got his sleep, so he definitely had no trouble making gains there.
Let's see what we got here. We got a lot of questions, so we're going to try to keep up. We don't talk about TRT questions. This is about fitness and nutrition. If you're 22 and you're doing TRT, likely you're just talking about steroids, so you really don't need that crap.
Yeah, that's stay away from that.
All right. Let's see. Could you please tell me about MCT oil's purpose? Is it a good supplement to take? I don't know much about MCT oil other than the articles I've edited. Do you know anything about it?
I mean, I know it has a lot to do with ketones and from brain activity, and that definitely helps with people that are in ketosis. From people that follow the keto diet, I will not pretend like I know a lot about the keto diet, but I just know that ketones, MCT oil is very conducive to help your body producing more ketones in the brain and stuff like that.
I will say, if you guys have a question on supplements that we can't answer, head over to the Tiger Fitness group, which is linked below, drop it in, and just tag Mark, and he'll answer it, because Mark is the man when it comes to supplements. Let's see. Eric Freeman says, if I take a scoop of 30 grams of protein after workout, how much of that go into your muscle?
Oh, that's okay. Hit a trigger point here. So a lot of that in the kind of realms your body's ability to absorb nutrients, which goes well beyond the workout or that specific protein shake. So if you're eating very poor processed foods, your body's going to have a very difficult time absorbing those nutrients. And so then that's where something like a probiotic will help. It helps with your body absorb nutrients. So I mean, if you're eating, crap food all throughout the day, and then all of a sudden you have your protein shake, yeah, your body will absorb some of it, but I mean, it's not going to negate the fact that you've eaten poorly the past 23 hours. So,
all right, let's see what we got here, guys. If we miss your question, just toss it up again and try to annoy us. Let's see. Got that. Marcelli Fay Andoy. That's a tough name to say. What is the best way to progressively overload the muscle? Tension, more sets. The best way to progressively overload the muscle is to progressively overload it.
But there's different variations you can do that though.
I'm going to tell you the stupid simple way, and this is the Arnold way. Excuse me.
Classic.
Mm-hmm. Take every set for as many reps as possible. Stop the set when you feel like your form's going to break down, or when you feel like you might fail on the next rep. That's a good guideline for lifters during the first couple of years, because you're only doing reps with quality form, and the deeper you push a muscle, the deeper into a set you push, the more reps you push, the closer you get to failure, the more muscle fibers you're recruiting. It's a good guideline for most exercises. So
also too, there's you have to focus on the internal stimulus versus the external. So for example, in powerlifting, it's very much, you hit depth and you come back up and you get the three green lights. But when you're focused on stimulating the muscle from a hypertrophy sense, focus on it kind of gets overused, but it's definitely should not be, is the mind-muscle connection. So if you're doing a bicep curl, make sure the bicep is doing the majority of the work. So you see people do a bicep curl and they'll initiate the movement by swinging. So what happens is whatever muscle is used first will be the one that's used the most. So if you're using your lat to swing up the swing up the dumbbell on the bicep curl, your lat's being primarily worked. So really focus on isolating, getting that time under tension. You don't have to count to 20 for one rep from a sense of time under tension. Just make sure that you're doing exercises and movements that are conducive to your body. So I mean, if your body does not respond well to, for example, Steve and I have talked about this, is barbell skull crushers. I can do them, and it flames up my elbows. Steve might be able to do them, and he might get, you know, a great response from it. Everyone's built differently. Really focus on what's firing within your body when you're doing a certain exercise. Like, for example, I can't do a lot of close grip bench. Maybe it's my baseball background, but it just tears up my elbows. Steve can rep out like 225, like it's no big deal, and I'm over there with like 65 pounds, and my elbow hurts. So it all kind of, everyone's built differently. So that's one thing to take into account.
Yeah, and you know, just an end cap. If you learn, I will say, if you learn to make every set count, then when you're talking about, that's the foundation, and you can combine that with what Trey is talking about, learning your body and learning the exercises and focusing on the specific muscles or movers involved in that exercise. But if you can make a set count, then things like volume, you know, you go in, you do a reasonable amount of volume, you know you're making every set count, so you're not wasting time. So start with the fundamentals. Let's see here. Missed a lot of questions. Let's go back. I can't hear y'all. Well, turn up your phone. Everybody else can hear us. Sorry, man. What do you guys think about the slingshot from Marc Bell?
It says for training chest, so I think that kind of plays a vital part of it too.
Look, I've been using a slingshot for 10 years, and the reason why I use it is because I've been benching for 32 years. 22 of it has been the bodybuilding, you know, flat bench, you know, just crack form stuff. So after 20 years of benching, I use it to protect my shoulders and for overload. If you're going to use it for chest, what are your thoughts, Trey?
Well, primarily it's I've never used a powerlifting bench shirt. Potentially you might have, Steve, but so the slingshot helps get the initial, helps essentially slingshot it.
Right.
It takes that pressure off your shoulder, so it's more tricep intensive. So I feel like if you're going for a sense of hypertrophy, trying to develop your chest to get as big as possible, I would not recommend it because it's definitely more built for helping with your lockout, taking some stress off your shoulders. If one route you could look into is just different grip techniques and different elbow angles for stimulating your chest, because the pectoral muscle crosses here on your body, it does not cross at the elbow. So different elbow manipulations are going to stimulate your chest differently. So one thing you can play around too is different variables. You can do pause at the bottom, maintain that tension. You can do lightweight high reps. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you can stimulate the chest, but I wouldn't use the slingshot as your sole hypertrophy developer.
No, and I'll tell you what I did, and we'll wrap up this question. As a power builder, somebody like, I like powerlifting, but it wasn't my primary thing. I like to train for muscle. So when I was doing the powerlifting training, I would go in and do my heavy slingshot work, get that over with, and then I would take the slingshot off, and I do pause bench or even guillotine press. And guillotine press gets a bad rap, but I wasn't bringing it down to my neck. But I would do some chest specific work without the slingshot, and then I would move on to like dumbbell bench press and do some volume for the chest of like 5 by 10, and then a bunch of push-ups. So I was getting in a bunch of quality chest work after the fact. So you can do both, but just know you just can't do all your chest work with that thing.
That's the takeaway point right there, is you can't just live and die off the slingshot.
SC, Joseph Stone says, does Tabata HIIT workout more helpful in trying to burn body fat rather than a normal workout routine? I feel like I'm stagnant right now. Whoa, Joseph, 1,200 calories a day, you're 5'9", 170, dude. Dude, whoa, you need time to hit the pause button. Tell us, Trey, stagnant at what? You're trying to get abs?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to, people have to evaluate your goals first, and so if your goal is to develop maximum amount of muscle, you're definitely going to have to increase your caloric intake. So, I mean, especially depending on how old you are, I can't remember if he said what his age was, but
well, I'm assuming if you're 5'9", 170 and you're trying to scratch for abs, usually those guys are under 25 years old.
Yeah, and also too, I mean, it's just there's got to be that caloric intake. You cannot be in a caloric deficit. I mean, I know it sounds very simple and it sounds very it's too good to be true, but if you are in a constant caloric deficit, you're naturally going to lose weight. If you're in a caloric positive, I think that would be the proper term, you're definitely more conducive to building muscle. But your body is either in an anabolic state or a catabolic state. So if it's in a catabolic state, it's tearing away at the current muscle tissue or the fat to use that for energy. If it's in an anabolic state, it's growing, so hence the term like anabolic steroids. So, but you always want to be in an anabolic state, because that way your body is using the nutrients from your food to build and repair and grow.
Yeah, so hey, right now you're trying to burn more fat and you're eating 1,200 calories per day. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, this is an unhealthy behavior. It's not a healthy behavior, and when you're looking at building a better body, you have to have a foundation with that of some eye on healthiness and something reasonable. But remember, I'm just going to leave you with this. Body fat has two components: your muscle levels and your fat levels. So you can lower the fat or you can add muscle, and the easiest way to look better where you are at right now is to gain 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. So that's my opinion. All right, let's see. Did you do anything different to train for your mud run? Did you do anything different to train for the mud run?
I honestly didn't do anything different because I found about it about a week in advance. Not that short, but like it's definitely it's one of those things where you just kind of, what I'm a big believer in, you're just in a constant state of training. I don't really believe in cutting or bulking per se for like the average person, unless you're competing in a specific event. But just always having that, base level of physical preparedness. If you are like trying to be competitive in the mud run scene or the OCR scene, I would recommend knocking out a lot of pull-ups and mastering swimming. We were underwater a good bit of time. Didn't expect that.
It was about 40% of our track was like at knee level to actually chest level.
But you can so the two exercises I'd recommend would be a lot of pull-ups and dip variations up there. So chin-ups, pull-ups, dips, any variations with chains and bands, and then also farmer's carries, because the grip is vital, especially when your hands are super slick and they're covered in mud. So I would recommend farmer's carry as well.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing I noticed is like the grip work, our hands were always wet, so we'd be coming up to an obstacle like, I gotta get my hands dry.
Yeah, there's no chalk on it.
Right.
Mud run.
The biggest challenge is like I was doing things like rope climbing, and I didn't think I'd be able to do it, getting up the ramps and pulling myself up. The biggest challenges were the grip and I have a pretty good grip strength, just the upper body stuff. And me, to prepare, I hike 8 to 15 miles on the weekend, so a 2.5 mile run and walk, hike, whatever, really wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see, we missed a lot of questions, so we got that. Do you really need to take carbs after you work out? Do you need to do anything? No. Is it good?
Just need to pay taxes and die. As my dad would say.
I mean, those to me are the wrong type of questions. You're trying to find a way out of doing something. Why? I mean, I don't like questions like that. Like, do you really need to take protein after you work out? You really don't need to do anything, but why are you trying to avoid it?
Yeah, so that's you can just go on PubMed and find a bazillion research articles of why carbs are good for you post-workout. So
yeah, I don't know. When I'm done lifting, I feel like simple sugars and protein. I've always craved that. So
yeah, I mean it's been done by high-level elite athletes. So
yeah, don't try to find ways to not do stuff. That's just,
it's good enough for Arnold, then it's good enough for you.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Sorry guys, I just joined. Is there a way to contact you? You can... Quick building. You can check out the articles on tigerfitness.com, Luis, or you can post your questions at the Tiger Fitness group, which is linked below, and we will answer them directly if we can. Let's see. There's a mud run question. Eric Freeman says, so probiotics help with nutritional absorption. What is the best one to take?
So the one, I'm gonna do a little bit of a plug it in, but I take RD Regulator, and it's definitely, it definitely helps with me. Something that's, it sounds silly, but for me, it helps alleviate the protein parts, keeps me, I don't feel as bloated. It just helps with overall gut health. There's been a lot of research lately on how gut is now considered by some to be the second brain. So it's just gonna help essentially clean out your gut, and it sounds kind of bro sciencey. There's definitely a lot of unprocessed food that just kind of sits in your gut, and probiotics will help flush that out. and then it cleans out your stomach, cleans out your guts, and now your body's able to absorb more nutrients.
All right, let's see what else we got. We got the staff here trying to harass us, I think.
So,
Okay, let's see, what do we got? Probiotics. I've always trained, I think roids will come in hand. Come on now,
yeah.
enough with that stuff. Obviously they come in handy, but this is not a steroids discussion. Let's see. What does it mean? Let's see, Fight 2913 says, what does it mean when they say retract scapula, and what exercises and benefits does it bring? I'm gonna talk about that real quick on deadlifts, and then you can jump in. People, yeah, scapular retraction is like, basically just think about it, bringing your shoulders and elbows back at the same time.
This?
Yeah, that's it. That's right there. That's what it means. And basically, you know, when you're doing back work, that's when it comes into play. I teach people when you're doing back work, drive your elbows and shoulders back at the same time. That's a good way to kind of get in the mindset of getting a good good back contraction, and that'll help you with scapular retraction.
So also too, so any form of upper body pressing movement is going to involve, you want to stabilize your shoulder and create torque within that shoulder, because that's where your movement is being generated from. So for example, people that have a lot of elbow pain when they bench, or shoulder pain in general, are probably not stabilizing their scap. And so unless you're a bodybuilder and you're trying to elicit a certain response, I mean, I recommend you always have to take that shoulder blade, take it back and down. One way to think about it as well is, imagine there's a quarter between your shoulder blades and you're trying to pinch that quarter. That's another way to do it. So if you're benching, you have to, people talk about, I know Louis Simmons of Westside Barbell always talks about it, is digging your shoulder blades into the bench. So from there, your shoulder's in a safe, stable position. And from one of the byproducts of that is you're able to maximize your tricep in the bench as well. And also your chest, your pectoral muscles are in a more advantageous position to press. And then if you're doing an overhead press or a push press, you definitely want to keep that shoulder stable as well, because otherwise everything's just kind of floating around there. Your shoulder's not in a stable position and your muscles are not firing optimally.
The one thing I'll say with scapular retraction is one exercise you don't want to focus on scapular retraction is the deadlift. I see a lot of bodybuilders teaching like a scapular retraction during the deadlift. That's a really good way to tear something, so don't do that. That's all right. Let's see here. Let's see, what do we got left? Marcelli, after 5 years of weight training, 2 years eating mainly bro foods, is it normal to only gain less than 5 pounds a year? This is kind of my area of expertise. I've done a lot of research on natural muscle building potential. The average natural, and these are not rules, these are guidelines as we understand it. The average natural male can gain about 30 to 35 pounds of muscle during the course of their life. This is assuming you're not starting underweight, because if you're underweight, obviously you can gain muscle to get to a normalized weight. But say you have like 32 pounds of muscle to gain over the course of your life, you have the potential to gain about half of that the first year, and then each remaining year about half of what you have left. So if you gain 16 pounds your first year, 8 pounds your second year, 4 pounds your third year, after about the second or third year, you're not going to gain a lot of muscle mass if you're doing everything optimally.
So it also comes down to biological principles of adaptation. So the best way I can explain it is, if you learn how to write your name, you can't learn to write your name any better per se. So once your body's responding to certain stimuluses, or think about it from a music sense, if you hear a song for the first time and you really like it, you want to listen to it again and again, and eventually you get sick of that song. Your body responds the same way. So when you're first training, you're putting your body through different movement patterns, you're stimulating muscles you've never stimulated before. Your body biologically is responding to that, and it's saying, okay, I need to adapt, because your body is thinking, okay, I need to adapt and grow stronger, otherwise it's a potential threat. So after, what would you say, 6 to 8 months of training is kind of what the newbie gains. Is that
right?
What
that's the best gains you're going to get.
So with that, your body's realizing, okay, this is a constant stressor. This is something that's starting to adapt a little bit better, and that's where you go into the realm of like program design, variation. I mean, you can go down that rabbit hole of different periodization methods, but initially, it's essentially your body reacting to certain stimuluses, and if you provide the same stimulus, so if you do the same. If you go in and you bench 135 3 sets of 10 every day, or excuse me, 3 times a week for 2 years, you're not going to get any stronger beyond that 135 for 3 sets of 10. You have to do different either variations or variations, rep schemes, add more weight on the bar. But if you have to think of it in the sense of biology and your body's reacting to a stimulus.
Yeah, so gains slow naturally over time. So it's very normal just to, if you're doing everything right after the first several years, you're just, scratching for pounds and ounces on your lifts and on your frame. So it's completely normal. You're not doing anything incorrectly. Let's see. All right, guys, we're going to keep going for at least another 5 minutes. If you have questions, just shoot them up. Jamie Barlow says, how is the best way to lean out your legs? When I lift heavy, my legs get thicker. I'm 48, 5'4", female, weigh 130 pounds. I don't want thick legs. I think you're talking about muscularity, because Jamie says when she lifts heavy, her legs get thicker. So it sounds like we're talking about muscle mass. I'm just going to say, if you don't want thick muscular legs, you can't really challenge your legs. That's,
It's a very relative thing too. What do you define as thick? I don't want to go in that realm, but it's a very relative thing. And I guess if you can still weight train, you can still strength train. Maybe just what I recommend is open your cardio intake from a low impact standpoint. So incorporate walking or hiking or something like that, where it's going to be a constant stress and a constant stimulus, and you're going to activate more slow twitch muscle fibers.
Jamie, I will say this, as a female, you're 54 years old, you're at 130 pounds, which is a really good weight for your age. I'm 50, so I'm not being disrespectful when we're talking age. But you also have to consider, if you stop doing leg training and just switch to hiking. I love to hike. It's great for legs. It's great for cardiovascular health. But
especially for mud runs too.
Yeah, you need to keep your strength up, because women, you don't want to be fragile as we reach 60 and 70 years old. So you want to do some degree of strength training with your legs to stay challenged. So, you know what? You're in great shape. You have a little bit of muscularity on your legs, and most men like that, to be honest with you. If you have an issue with it, just you're going to have to do some tweaking, but just remember, you got to keep some degree of strength so you're not frail as you age. Let's see. Swimming is no joke. I do 30 minutes Monday through Friday. Yeah, it is no joke. Cheat day versus cheat meal. Go.
I think you got to go back and examine your relationship with food. I mean, how do you view food? For example, I personally prefer Chipotle or Panera over McDonald's and Burger King. I don't really have a desire to have something that's really gonna negatively affect me. I've started to really feel the impacts of food on my body, from the sense, if I go out and I eat a Burger King, I'm about to say Big Mac, that's heresy. If I go out and I eat in like a Burger King Whopper, I'm definitely gonna feel awful, and I hate that feeling of like my stomach is sick, I can't function, I have brain fog. However, what I'll do is I'll go to Whole Foods or something, and then they have like a little cafe there, and I'll get a burger from there. It's definitely going to taste better. It's going to be better for me. So I think you kind of have to examine your relationship with food, from the sense of like, why do you want to eat that food? Just because it tastes good, or I don't know. It's a very, it's a deeper thing than just having cheat days or cheat meals.
Yeah, I lost 100 pounds. My wife lost 100 pounds, and I'm glad you brought that up, because you're younger, and a lot of it's hard for me sometimes to get this message across to folks under 30, but your food impacts the way you feel.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I eat healthy almost all the time, and when I have something bad, I wake up the next day feeling like a train wreck. When you're younger, it tends to mask that a little bit more, because you're more hormonally sound and physiologically sound, and you just feel super, So to what Trey said, food choices, you really, for me, when I lost 100 pounds, I had to learn to fall in love with good food choices. And now, when I want something bad, or I have a crave, I really don't have cravings, to be honest with you. But if I want something, I'll have a small couple Doritos or a bite of cheesecake. We all have days where we just eat a lot of bad food, but I save those for like family gatherings, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and then I still make pretty good food choices.
And also too, like I remember even after the mud run we did. I mean, I went to Chick-fil-A and got a small cookies and cream milkshake. So I mean, like if let's say you had that big family gathering coming up, and you know it's going to be fried chicken and beer, and which tastes amazing, by the way. I'm not knocking fried chicken,
Right.
but like maybe plan out a really great training session or big run or something in the morning where you can kind of offset it just a little bit. But I think, yeah, it kind of goes back to how do you examine food? What are you looking to get out of it? If you're looking just to purely satisfy yourself from a satiation, is that the right word? From a satiety standpoint,
Yeah.
you want something that just tastes good, it's not going to benefit you, I would recommend you re-examine.
Honestly, you know, I hate the concept of a cheat day or a cheat meal. I really do, because like we're adults, we stay active, we stay reasonably body fat for our age. I'm, you know, fat compared to Trey here,
But you can also squat 600, so.
right, but we maintain our weight. So
Yeah.
if we want something, we have it. We just don't have a lot of it. And I don't have cheat days. I never schedule cheat days or cheat meals. I have what I want, just within reason. That's my best advice. All right. Let's see. We're gonna do 2 more questions. How about that? I don't really understand auto regulation. As a result, this old man pushes way too hard too often.
Oh, yeah, so.
Auto regulation is kind of what I preach, and I know this gentleman because he's in my group.
What's your definition of auto regulation?
Okay, so I'm gonna compare it to linear progression, where the thought is each week you add 5 pounds to the bar or 10 pounds or whatever. There's a lot of linear progression programs. I don't like them because most people they reach the end too quickly.
Yeah.
I like more intuitive progression. So let's say you're doing 5 by 10 on dumbbell benches or 4 by 10, and like the last set was pretty reasonable. So okay, it's time to add weight. Just more intuitive. That's kind of what I call auto-regulated progression or intuitive progression.
And also too, it kind of comes back down to what are like if you're in the scope, if you're competing for a meet, a powerlifting meet, you obviously don't want to peak too early. You don't want to not peak at all. So like you have to take it in the scope. If you are doing something like a powerlifting meet, like what is your ultimate goal? Because you're not gonna win the powerlifting meet, you know, 8 weeks out on one set of on dumbbell bench. I mean, you have to definitely kind of have some thought to it from the sense of like, what am I trying to achieve out of this training session? Like, what are my ultimate goals? And like, please, it's one thing that kind of bugs me is not every training session has to be this epic YouTube, like Dorian Yates blood and guts type session. Sometimes it's about going in there, doing your reps, getting your work, and just getting out of there and just repeating that consistently.
So the core of his question, you know, is like a feeling punished. When you feel punished, you got to do something. I mean, you got to change variables. You either have to alternate, you know, do some nonlinear periodization where you might do fewer sets one week and more the next. You might need to rotate between heavier weeks and lighter weeks. And that really, if something is hurting, you need to change a variable because you don't want to punish your body.
Yeah.
If you can't perform, your training program's not working.
Yeah, no one cares how much you lift if you're injured.
Let's see, you said most gains come in the first year, but what if I was just lifting to be lifting, now taking it more serious? Okay, if you were not lifting really hard your first year.
Did I waste the end of his question says, did I waste my newbie gain?
No. Okay, this is your lifetime gains. Let's say it was full. No matter what you take out of there, you still can take half of what's remaining the upcoming year to dumb it down. So that's
a great physical metaphor. I never thought about that.
Yeah, you never waste it. This is what you get right here. And if you drink slowly the first year, you still got a lot to go. So
that's a good point. Yeah, that's the most simple way it's ever been said before. I love it.
Yeah, we all got a full tank. Let's see what we got. We got that. Do you need to this will be our last, let's see, best brand pre-workout, Clash or Vasky? Or Clash, no, wait, Ruckus with Vasky is my favorite.
Yeah, I'm kind of old school. I go BCAAs and creatine. So, I drink a lot of coffee throughout the day, so I just go MTS Fuel and then creatine.
All right, last question for today, guys. Comes from Jared. Do you need to take liver or organ protection while taking Barracuda? No, it's not. Barracuda is a test booster by MTS Nutrition.
He's
it
probably referring to the D-aspartic acid in
Yeah.
Barracuda.
I'm not that I know, but you might know more than me. So
Yeah, if it's upsetting your stomach, I'd recommend switching over to Insurgent. It's probably the D-aspartic acid that's not sitting well in your stomach. But it's essentially the same ingredient profile, just the Barracuda has the D-aspartic acid.
all right, guys, this has been a Tiger Fitness Live. This is Steve Shaw, editorial director. I'm with Trey. In case you missed it, we're going to be firing up the Tiger Fitness podcast. We're going to be getting our first couple episodes out, or episodes done here in June. So please look for that. Myself and Trey will be co-hosts on the Tiger Fitness podcast. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. See you.